My Storybook presents Peter Pan and Wendy, starring Peter Pan. Welcome to Peter Pan and Wendy. You're about to step back in time 120 years and visit a magical world filled with adventure. From this moment on, you will watch Peter Pan, the boy who decided to never grow up. Are you ready? Join Peter Pan now. A cozy house in London was home to Wendy, John, and Michael. The three siblings shared a bright nursery filled with toys and books. At night, their imaginations came alive with adventures. When evening came, Wendy gathered her brothers close. Once upon a time, there lived a boy named Peter Pan who never grew up, she began. Wendy's stories transported them to the magical world of Neverland. However, it wasn't long before their tales leapt off the pages and into the room as Wendy, John, and Michael brought their adventures to life. Their make-believe games worried their parents with all the noise. At bedtime, Wendy confided in her mother, "I never want to grow up and leave the nursery behind." Her mother smiled, tucking Wendy in and treasuring her daughter's wondrous imagination. That night, all of a sudden, a boy flew through the window. It was Peter Pan, accompanied by a glowing fairy named Tinkerbell. "Come to Neverland with me," Peter exclaimed. "It's where kids never grow up." Wendy, John, and Michael eagerly agreed to go. Tinkerbell sprinkled them with pixie dust so they could fly. "But you must believe in fairies," warned Peter, "or Tinkerbell will die." The children flew with Peter Pan and Tinkerbell and arrived at the magical island of Neverland. The salty ocean breeze caressed their faces as they flew over the lush green landscape below. From the deck of his ship, the evil Captain Hook spotted the flying figures. "Pan," he snarled, "and he's brought more brats to Neverland." Hook immediately ordered his pirate crew to capture the children. Later that day, John and Michael were feeling brave and began exploring the forests of Neverland. Suddenly, pirates burst from the bushes, swords drawn. They surrounded Wendy's brothers. In the chaos, the pirates seized the children, carrying them away. "We must save them," declared Peter back at one of his hideouts. He rallied the Lost Boys to come help. Together, they took flight, determined to storm the pirate ship and rescue John and Michael. Cannons roared and swords clashed as Peter Pan and the children fought the pirates aboard their ship. The children felt confident under the bright sun and the ringing clash of battle. Back in Neverland's forest, Wendy embraced her new role as mother to the Lost Boys. Gathered around the campfire, she entertained them with tales of adventures. The boys listened, captivated by her stories. As Wendy tucked the Lost Boys into their leaf beds that night, she felt some sadness. "I miss my parents terribly," she whispered, her voice filled with longing. Though Neverland's adventures were thrilling, Wendy knew her place was back home. As wonderful as this is, she thought, I must return and grow up like mother and father. Without warning, Captain Hook and his pirates swarmed their hideout. The scoundrels captured Wendy and the Lost Boys, binding them with ropes. Their adventures had taken a dark turn. "Look, it's Wendy and the others!" Tinkerbell's frantic jingling alerted Peter. He looked up at the sky with determination. "Then we must mount a rescue at once and save them from that codfish." Aboard Hook's ship, the villain mocked Peter. But Wendy spoke up boldly. "Leave him be. Peter Pan is the greatest hero ever." Her defense of Peter surprised even the girl herself. Into the sea with you," Hook snarled, forcing Wendy to walk the plank. She trembled, fearing the worst, as the hungry sharks circled below. all hope seemed lost. Just as Wendy teetered on the edge of the plank, a familiar cry rang out. "Never fear, Wendy, I'm here." Peter swooped in and scooped her into his arms at the last second. Peter and Wendy quickly freed the Lost Boys from their chains. "To battle, mates!" Peter rallied them. Armed with swords, they charged the pirates for an epic showdown. Swords clashed as Peter and Hook dueled fiercely aboard the ship. With a final lunge, Peter sent the villainous captain stumbling overboard, right into the waiting jaws of the hungry crocodile. At last, the children returned to the nursery window in London. Mrs. Darling burst into joyful tears, embracing Wendy, John, and Michael tightly. Their adventures were over, but a new chapter began. Wendy and her brothers settled back into their cozy, normal life, with the family happily adopting the Lost Boys. Though Peter returned to Neverland, he promised Wendy, "I'll visit each spring to hear your stories." Many years went by, and Wendy never forgot the magic of Peter Pan and Neverland. Each night she delighted her little ones with tales of eternal youth and high-flying adventures, keeping the spirit of childhood wonder alive for generations to come.